I realised that there was a link between whether or not Google sold in the UK and how much tax they had to pay here. Obviously, when I realised that, that was very serious to me, and I thought, well, actually, this is this certainly doesn't measure up against what happened while I was at Google. So I really felt that I had a duty to certainly approach the Public Accounts Committee and just say to them, listen, you've heard that from someone at Google, but I'd just like to tell you what we did when I was at the company for those 4 years. When I worked at Google in the UK, there was no doubt that what we were doing was selling. We were called internally the UK sales team. Salespeople were called salespeople. Selling was selling. We talked about closing deals. We talked about signing people up. We talked about contracts. We were a sales team. Salespeople were bonused based on how much they were selling. There's no sense of the word selling in which we were not selling in the UK. As a Christian, I felt strongly that an untruth was being propagated, and one that I had that was in my power to actually say no. When I worked at the company, when I worked at Google, actually that was not the case. Many of my former colleagues have pointed out to me that by taking a stand on this, obviously I haven't made myself massively popular. Some people think that my employment prospects for the future are likely to be impacted. Certainly, a lot of companies that have got a European headquarters in Dublin are unlikely to be high on my list of future potential employers. But that's okay. I'm not too worried about that. I think that more important to me is just to know that the right thing's being done, and that whatever happens in the future, God will look after me. I think probably for if you're sort of educated, if you're if you do a responsible job, etc., then probably the thing that you fear most is shame, people saying this guy's an idiot or crazy or things like that. You're afraid of people calling you a hypocrite because, of course, as I said, I don't do the right thing all the time. I often do wrong, in fact, and I don't want this to appear like I'm saying, I live perfectly and look at these horrible people at Google. No, I'm still very attached to Google. I feel like that it's an organisation that I care for and I'm part of. It is important that things that we do wrong don't just continue forward into the future. So when I do wrong, I say actually that is wrong. I'm not going to do it anymore. And I think that's very important in society as well, that we don't have wrongs that just continue to rumble forward into the future. And this is one that I think very obviously, if no one had stood up and said, listen, I don't think this is quite the right thing, we wouldn't be having this debate about international taxation, and therefore the British taxpayer would not be getting all of the money that it needs to build the next generation of hospitals and schools and things like that. I think Google's a great company, and it's got a great history and heritage of the management of the company being held accountable to the staff. I remember some wonderful town hall type meetings where Google staff get up and question the senior management about the things that they've done and the direction that the company's going. I think Eric is bound to listen to not just, I'm just an ex-employee, quite a low-level one at that, but I'm sure there'll be many, in fact I know that there are lots of other employees within Google that are very concerned about the company doing the right thing by different countries and doing the right thing according to the tax system. And I'm sure that Eric will think long and hard about how the company performs. And I know that he's already thinking that because he's been on the record as saying that the international tax system needs reforming, and that's a good thing.